Welcome, everyone. I love it. Welcome, everyone, to Tim's Final Confessions. I'm Tim Durling, and I have assembled a panel of gentlemen that have all been on here before, but never together all at the same time. So let's see. We've got Andy Bug Campbell, Jex Russell, and Chris Preston from My Rock and Roll Heaven. Welcome, everyone.
Hey, Tim. Good to be here. Hey,
Hey
guys.
guys, looking forward to this.
Really glad to have you guys on here. And Jex has alluded to it. We are talking about the artwork created by the company known as Hipgnosis, a UK company, Storm Thorgerson and Aubrey Powell, or Poe. And we have got a very, very small sampling of the Hipgnosis, output. So we're going to go through what we have, and we're going to break it up into three different time periods. So we're going to talk about from the beginning, whatever we all have, through 1975. And then we're going to do 76 to 79. Then we're going to do 80 to 83. And in 83 is where Hipgnosis disbanded or the company was no more. Now, as many of you will know, Storm Thorgerson continued to produce album art and, up until his death in 2013. We're going to maybe do an episode on just Storm's post-Hipgnosis work at a later time. But for now, these are strictly Hipgnosis covers. And guys, I got to say, like in some cases, there's a very distinctive look to a lot of these album covers, not just the covers, the back covers, the gatefolds, the inner sleeves. And no small amount of weirdness, would you say?
That was I think, their modus operandus, if you would call it that.
Yeah, there's a very distinctive look to, I guess you could say, the type of lenses they use, the type of shots they use. There are repeating, motifs, I guess, if we want to get technical about it. So we're going to go through what we have. So we're going to start with the period leading up to 19 and including 1975. And so we're going to start with Bug, Jex, Chris, then myself. And we'll see what everybody has. So, Buck, if you want to start us off with the earliest period of Hipgnosis.
So the earliest album I have by Hipgnosis is this one.
What a great album.
Electric Warrior by T-Rex. This is one of those ones like, what is it? There's an Alice Cooper album. It has the lyrics right on the back of the back cover.
Oh, yeah.
Is it
It's one
Killer?
of the Constrictor, I think, has it as well, or
yeah,
one of them, anyways. Yeah.
So this is a photo. I can't remember what the fella's name is. He had a nickname. Anyway, he's the one that took this photo. It's actually Mark Bolan from a T-Rex concert, and then they did some cool. This is an iconic, not only an iconic album as far as the glam rock, one of the top glam rock albums. But this is an iconic cover, and I had no idea that this was Hipgnosis that did this album cover, but upon my research for this episode, realized it was, and that's the first one in my collection.
So that goes back to 71, and the photo was taken by Kieran Spud Murphy.
Spud, yes.
Spud, there you go.
And not knowing a lot about T-Rex, I'm just looking at this. So this is a big, it had Jeepster and it had Get It On. So this was... And Cosmic Dancer, I recognize that one too.
Yeah.
And it's also kind of neat the way that they framed that, because my understanding is that Mark Bolan was a short little guy. So they make it look like he's a lot taller.
Massive, yeah.
Spud Murphy sounds like he could be from PEI, couldn't he?
He's certain about the Spud, yeah. Even
Spud
Murphy, yeah.
I love
Spud Murphy died.
I love the photography and the techniques they use. So I read up a little bit on this one. I guess this was probably pretty early on. I don't know my photography that well, but that kind of edge around Mark, and the gold edge is actually airbrushed and sprayed on. That's how they actually got that effect of that kind of gold overlay, soft edge around him and his guitar and his stack, which is pretty cool.
That's right? A cool photo, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Great album, too. Great album.
All right, Jex, what have you got?
All right. So I also had Electric Warrior. My next one, also from 71, from Pink Floyd,
Oh, nice.
One of the
Yeah.
two Pink Floyd albums I have. This is Metal, and this is a new acquisition for me. But I'm just getting acquainted to the album, and I like it a lot. I'm not a big Pink Floyd fan, but this is actually a really good album. And I forget, like, I read up on the cover. I can't remember right now. It seems to be like some underwater things going on. I feel like you have like a snout. I can't remember if I'm remembering that right. Some sort of like pig's nose, isn't it? Or
I could be mistaken, but I think I read this as the inside of an eardrum. I thought.
is that what it is?
I think
Wow.
I think it is.
I'm just
I was
going
way
through the
off. I
book
was way
here.
off. Then I
It's
read
yeah,
it.
it's an ear underwater.
An ear underwater. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. I
But
read up
but
on it a long time ago.
but get this. This is according to Wikipedia. Storm Thorgerson of Hipgnosis originally suggested a close-up shot, I kid you not, of a baboon's anus for the album cover. He was overruled by the band, who informed him via an intercontinental telephone call while on tour
Oh
in
my
Japan
God.
that they would rather have an ear underwater. And I think that that was a good idea. Although it
So,
wouldn't surprise me, because if you look, more than you'll see here. If you look at some of their artwork, it is way out there.
yeah. Yeah, so you're right about the eardrum thing. So the whole idea about this one was how sound travels, and Pink Floyd were about sound. So it was pure sound traveling to their audience. And supposedly, according to what Aubrey Powell has to say about it, an ear underwater is far more receptive to higher pitched noises. So how about that, eh? Like this is the kind of stuff they come up with.
Oh yeah,
Brilliant.
To the sound of the band, let's do an ear and how the sound is better. Like it's mind-boggling.
yeah.
Like these guys were obviously geniuses in art or on acid a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So, anyways, it's by the way, just before this has
Yes.
been a very valuable resource as I completely forgot, Tim, when you mentioned doing this episode that I had this. I've had it for a while. It came out, I think, in 2016 or something like that. But this book covers like literally everything about how the company started. It's written by Aubrey Powell, and goes into great detail on not every album because they had almost 400, but the big ones. It's got great detail on the big ones and how it came to be and some of the cool stories behind it. So I'll try and throw things in there as we go with anything that's
Awesome.
kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I
I
guess
was
I'm up.
really hoping one of us would have that book, so I'm really glad
Yeah,
that
it's a great book. It's a great
yeah.
book, and there's a lot of resources online about hypnosis, just with different articles and things. And obviously, that documentary, which I need to see, would be another great kind of piece to fill in the blanks. But
So if you do the math on that 400 albums and the amount of time that they were around, they were basically pumping out an album every week.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
it was. I counted them up, and I think I came up with 382 distinct album covers, and they operated literally from 67 to, again, 84 was when the last ones came out. But yeah, it's crazy. Like the output was just massive, especially from like 73 when they really gained traction through to like the late early 80s, right?
Yeah. And there's an album in particular that came out in 73 that I'll bet you got them a lot of work after that.
Yeah, could it be, if I'm up now, could it be this
You
one?
are up next. Yeah. I had a feeling it would.
Everybody. And Jack's good for you on having the CD. So this might be one of I put that sticky note on there, by the way. This might be one of my favorite album covers of all time. Like,
It
Yeah.
is so simple, but so effective.
and how amazing is it? There's the gatefold with the lyrics and stuff, but how amazing is it that there is no band name or title
Yeah.
on this? There is no shots of the band. There is nothing to indicate from the outside that this is a Pink Floyd album. And even in the middle on the gatefold, you've got the lyrics and stuff, but there's no like logo. There's no Pink Floyd logo anywhere. Nothing.
Yeah.
So this came to be from an idea I believe it was Roger Waters had about wanting to show. Oh no, sorry, it was Richard Wright. He brought the idea of having something they wanted something really simple, really eye catching, clinical, etc. And one of the guys that it was either Aubrey, obviously, or Storm threw out this idea of the prism, and then it was Roger Waters who had the idea of the gatefold continuing the prism into this kind of heartbeat type graphic to continue like along with the music and how it would, go through the heartbeat, etc. So this is like
It's
this is
iconic.
definitely artwork, right? Like this is
Yeah.
something you frame and hang on the wall, which I think we can all agree as we discuss this company and the work they put out. You could have a pretty serious room just filled with
Yeah.
framed albums of artwork and people coming in and just like you're at an art gallery and
Yeah.
discuss, oh, what were they thinking here? What were they thinking here? But this has got to be, I think, up there, top 10 iconic album covers of all time. And this is an original 1973 Harvest issue, and there were a couple, almost forgot, a couple interesting inserts with it, a full poster
Nice.
with it of the band. Right. So this is the other kind of stuff they would do. It's pretty big.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah, I was really happy to find this one. And also in there were some stickers.
Oh,
Wow.
So you can see it has the Pink Floyd name in there and kind of a different theme on the prisms. There's like some pyramid stuff going on there. So these are stickers you can peel
They're
off.
unused.
Unused. So
Wow.
I found this a little while ago and actually for a pretty decent price and it's in great shape. But that's the kind of stuff they did. And there's some other examples of interesting things on the inserts that we'll get into on some other albums. But that might have been one of the first, again, I'm not 100% sure, albums that had those types of extras in them, right? In terms of like posters
And yet, no text whatsoever.
nothing.
No words on it at all. Now, I have to ask, where all three of you held this up, have any of you ever done the Wizard of Oz thing where you did, Jax? You lined it. I figured you would. You're a movie buff.
I
Lined up.
haven't, but I want to now.
Yeah. Is there anything to it, Jax? Like, or is it just like,
I don't think I got all the way through. Like I started, I watched it for a while in sync. It's cool. I mean, it's nothing to write home about, but it does work. It does fit. But yeah, it all depends. Again, I did it sober, so that might have something to do with it. But yeah, no, it was cool.
cool? Yeah, and if there's one band that comes to mind when you hear the word Hipgnosis, it is probably Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the cool nuggets that's in the, I believe it was in the documentary, was that Storm was really kind of ticked off that once they saw that image, they were like, yes, that's the one. He didn't like it that they didn't want to look through the rest of his ideas.
You're right. You're exactly right. And they actually had to bring in another graphic artist because they didn't know how to actually create that, I guess, prism effect. And they brought in another guy. I wonder if I have his name here. Yeah, G. Hardy was the guy's name.
Oh, I know that name.
Yeah, so he actually was the one that.
I think it's George Hardy.
Yes, I believe you're right. He created the actual graphic. But that was the other thing about, to your point, Bug, like, so Hipgnosis always had a bunch of stuff that they would show the bands, and the bands would be like, and I think he got in trouble with Robert Plant at some point for saying, Robert Plant was like, "What are you doing showing me all the cast-offs from everybody else?"
Yeah.
And they were like, "Well, one man's trash is another man's treasure, right?" So
yeah,
exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah, George Hardy. I knew the name, and we'll get to mine here, and we probably all got this one, but George Hardy I recognize because he did the cover artwork for the first Led Zeppelin album.
Oh, okay.
And speaking of 1973, I'm holding this copy up because you get in trouble for this photo sometimes.
We're crazy, eh?
This is, of course, Houses of the Holy, the fifth Zeppelin album, and the inner gatefold. If Jax could show us there, because the 8-track doesn't seem to have much on the back of it.
I don't know if I have the.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. That's very. There's that's the other thing. There's something so English about a lot of the artwork that they did. Yeah, something very like sort of timeless and ancient, and
Yeah.
yeah. And
So
I don't know what album, it was that they did for Zeppelin, but they almost lost them as a client because Jimmy got mad at them for they had something about this electric green tennis court, and they were basically implying that, Jimmy Page is like, "Are you saying that our music is a racket?"
yeah.
And so that was, and
Oh,
when you hear electric green tennis court, you're like, that sounds like a Hipgnosis cover.
it does, absolutely. That's a
So
great cover though. That full fold out gatefold of Houses of the Holy, like talk about an
apparently that was
epic.
based on a science fiction book called Childhood's End.
You are absolutely right. Arthur C. Clarke. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think
All right.
in a lot of cases they when it was shipped to stores, the way they had the labels on the front kind of blurred out the
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
covered
Yeah.
up the
And I actually don't mind having that banner there. It's on the original CD, and it's, of course, it's on the 8-track too. So I actually don't mind that.
yeah.
Yeah, I prefer this CD copy as well.
There you go.
Yeah.
It,
All
it,
right, Bug, over to you.
it took them a couple days to shoot that. I guess it was really wet and rainy, and
Yeah.
they had the kids there, and it took a long time for them to get that shot. So if I'm up, my next one is from 1974, and this one is one that definitely doesn't look like a Hipgnosis album cover.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. Even the photography,
Yeah.
there's a look to it. But yeah, of course, the first Bad Company album. It's
and
very basic for Ooh, what's that?
Look at that, guys. I thought
Japanese, right?
Ah,
yes.
mine doesn't have any of that. Mine's a Canadian one.
So I found this bad boy a while ago. It's got the Obi strip on it. This is a Japanese issue with, let me see if I can, well, I won't pull that right off, but that's the gatefold on the Japanese edition.
The Japanese issues always gave you more.
Yeah, live shots. And it also had in it, this is the insert in the
Cool.
Japanese edition, which is basically all the lyrics, right? Everything.
Yeah.
Everything in Japanese, though. So band shot.
Now, the coloring of that insert, Chris, reminds me of another cover, like that sort of brownish look, and I'm wondering if one of you have it. We'll find out later.
Yeah, it's kind of this weird brownish orangey thing, but they went for on this one. I love this album and I love the simplicity of it.
Yes.
They went for specifically having a really simple, didn't want to give any indication of who the band was. There was a lot of mystery around it. No one knew who Bad Company was before it was coming out.
They were a super group in 1974 because they all came from varying degrees of stardom.
Exactly. So their manager was Led Zeppelin's manager, right?
Yeah,
and so the tactics around this launch was he specifically wanted this shrouded in secrecy, like nothing.
Yeah.
There was nothing
and I
released
think
prior.
It was the very first album on Swan Song because Zeppelin hadn't put one out yet.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
and it was huge. It was a huge album.
Oh, it was a massive album. Yeah, it's a great album. Fantastic.
Yeah. And I, I've said this before. I didn't realize that there was anything more than just white in the letters.
Yeah, if you look at it closely, you're right.
Or marbled look to it.
Yep.
And I was saying before we started filming that I have to think between this album and AC/DC's Back in Black, this had to have been an inspiration for Spinal Tap for the Black, the Black Album.
Has to have been.
Could be, yeah. So you know what that is in the lettering, eh? It's thumbprints.
Oh,
yeah. So it's actually they made a graphic with thumbprints set within the white spaces, smacking of ne'er-do-wells and nefarious deeds. So they're actually thumbprints.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't know that.
Which I never.
I knew we'd be educated here. I knew.
Yeah,
that.
Never even knew they were there until I took a closer look.
That's awesome. All right, so over to that was Bugs, right?
Me, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, over to you, Jax.
Okay, so I'm gonna take it back I'm gonna take it back 1 year to 72. Emerson, Lake and Palmer trilogy.
Yeah. Again, is it airbrushing? What am I at? There's a smoothness to that.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't even look like a picture. It looks like more like a painting. I don't know.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And then you have the back right here. And what's nice, I've noticed while I was taking out my records for this video, most of Hipgnosis artwork came in a gatefold, and
Yeah,
rightfully so, because you want to enjoy it in that kind of scope, right?
Yeah.
Like here. I don't know if you can see
it's
that.
that's beautiful, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you look inside, it's just a beautiful photography in the forest.
Yeah. So, Jax, is this part of the hall that you inherited?
Yes, this is one of the many records I got from my cousin last summer. I did the math. I think I have 26 titles to show off. 11 came from his
wow,
collection. So if we would have done this a year ago, I wouldn't have had as many to show. So thank you to my cousin Pierre-Luc. He's very,
Awesome.
very much a prog rock fanatic. And yeah,
that's a
nice.
great cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like it a lot. So from 72.
Yeah. Cool. All right, Chris.
Well, we'll continue with the theme of one band that, like, Floyd and Zeppelin, there was a bunch of work done with Hipgnosis with this band.
Yeah.
Another Bad Company album. This is from 1975. This was their album Straight Shooter.
It doesn't
This,
really look like a Hipgnosis cover either.
yeah,
No.
a different look on it for Hipgnosis. It's a craps table. This one is not a gatefold, but they one of the things I was reading about Hipgnosis and the techniques they use with their photography was in their photos, they always used, if you notice, the images are always from front to back in perfect focus.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So that was so even the bit like these big dice in the foreground, all the way to the back of the craps table, everything's in focus front to back. And that was a technique they used in a lot of, well, most of their photography. Um, so this one, again, inspiration obviously from kind of the Vegas craps table, straight shooter, kind of a Western theme too, right?
Yeah.
And this was one of Bad Company's big albums too. Feel Like Making Love is on here, which was a huge hit for them.
Yeah. Good
But
loving gone bad. Love that one.
So Bad Company obviously tied in with, like I said earlier, had the same manager as Led Zeppelin, and Hipgnosis was already working with both of these guys, so it continued. This was the second album that they did with them, and more to come too. But another classic Hipgnosis design. I really like that album cover.
Chris, does the book talk about what the 3917 on one of the die means by any chance?
Actually, does it? They were good.
I've never been able to figure out what that sequence of numbers means. I Googled, I searched, I couldn't find anything definitive.
It's got to have a meaning.
Yeah, they don't mention that. They just mention that so the roll here of the 5 and the 6 for 11. A roll of 6 and 5 making 11 is a high score, and bright red dice were a striking graphic against the green baize of a craps table. Background was shot first, then the dice were combined later. No, there's no mention of the
So
actual. That's
my
got to be that's some research somebody needs to do because you're right.
Yeah, that's got to mean something. I
so my
just looked to see. I just looked to see if it was the serial number of the album, but it's not.
no. So
If
my
it said
thought
8413, then we'd know. But it's
my thought on the 5 and the 6 was it makes 11 1 and it's their second album. That's what I always thought the 5 and the 6 were.
Yeah, could be. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
and now that you mentioned that perspective thing, Chris, now it looks like a Hipgnosis cover to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, cool, very cool, very striking. Yeah. Me now.
Yeah.
This is actually one that Jex would have been with me because I bought this one at the last Record Expo in Riverview. Now, this one to me doesn't look like a Hipgnosis cover. And I had to look quite a few times to make sure that it was, but it is. This is Nazareth and their fifth album from 1974. It's called Rampant. And there's some very strange imagery here. You've got like a lion and you've got this border here. But the longer you look at it, you see more things in it. Like there's these coins and they've got the four band members.
Oh, yeah.
Never
Like
noticed.
there's a woman there. There's a bottle of wine. And on the back, it almost looks like a crate that's been stamped or branded, like burned, the word burned into it. So this one's very uncharacteristic, I think, for a Hipgnosis cover. Also, you've got this really weird looking Gibson SG with what looks to me like way too many pickups on it. But anyway, yeah, that's a strange album cover for them. All right, Bug, what do you got?
So my next one from 1975, another glam rock classic. This is Sweet.
Oh,
yeah,
Desolation Boulevard. So this actually is set in front of, and you can see the words up here. It's set outside of Filthy McNasty's, which is now the Viper Room.
Oh, okay. I've heard of them both. I didn't know they were one and the same.
Yeah, so that's the Filthy McNasty's became the Viper Room. So that photo is set on in Hollywood. This is a great album. I could never hear Ballroom Blitz again, but some of the other songs on there are really good. Sweet FA, the 16, some really good rock tracks on there. But yeah, that's Sweet, and I'm sure we'll hear of another Desolation album coming up.
Yep.
Maybe.
Yeah. All right, Jax.
That was actually the Sweet was my last one from this period, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chris. I don't have any more either, full disclosure.
I'm just making sure that we're still in 1975. So this is one I actually just got. And it is, let's say, probably the first really controversial cover.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, I went out of focus. Damn it.
That happened on purpose.
Oh, that's so weird, right? Like, just as... Can I get back in focus? Hello.
Yeah, that's a weird...
Damn it.
I've looked at that album cover many, many times, and I still can't quite make sense of what's going on. That's also the... Oh boy. Not only is he not focused, he disappeared.
We're being watched.
Yeah.
So this one is UFOs Force It. This is the 2021 remaster. The background or the back cover. This one actually includes some live material on 2 LPs. So this one, when it came out, the edition that went to the US had the lovely couple almost completely faded out. It was just kind of an outline of them because this album cover created some controversy out there because depending on how you, and this is the great thing about Hipgnosis, right? Depending on the album title and what you took literally from the title and the image could be viewed as, again, is this a rape scenario potentially forcing it, right? Or somebody. So it created a lot of controversy. Cool thing, all of the bathroom fixtures here. So they were shot separately. This is the other thing that blows my mind about Hipgnosis in the glory days of album covers. So the amount of money spent on the album covers was insane. In many cases, they flew, the band would fly Hipgnosis all around the world to do photography. In this case, Hipgnosis built this studio to take this photo. They brought in they built the bathroom, they brought in all the fixtures. The images of all the bathroom fixtures were shot separately and then put onto this original photograph. So it would be, if you look at it, you can see it. It would be set up basically as you were, again, always in focus from front to back. But if you're looking in the washroom, standing at the sink, this would be the image you'd see of everything as you're looking back towards the shower area. So just the amount of thought that went into it.
And it's also a play on the title, the way that English would say force it would sound like faucet.
Faucet. That is 100. So again, very UK, right? And how many people got that, right? Like I didn't initially get that until I read about it.
I'm not overly familiar with UFO. Is that the first one with Shanker?
I think so. Yes. Yeah, they're a great band. I've just gotten into them recently, but looking back now, like based on the stuff we have out, like the fact in the 70s, which you thought would have been not as prudish as it was in North America, especially. This was like, no, we got to cover that. You can't see that, right? But and this was a real life couple, by the way. That there was some discussion too about whether this was a same sex couple at one point. But anyways, there was a lot of debate about that amongst UFO fans. So
Hipgnosis pushed the envelope, man.
exactly.
Yeah,
We did.
yeah, cool. Bug, have you got anything else?
I do. I have one more from this period, and it was actually the album cover on the front of the book that Chris showed at the beginning.
Oh,
Yeah,
classic.
yeah.
There it is.
Probably second only to Dark Side of the Moon is their most iconic work, not just Pink Floyd, but Hipgnosis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's an interesting story in the documentary about the burning guy on the front. You know, nowadays you would use Photoshop to capture that image, but they were actually lighting the stuntman on fire, and they had done it about 11 or 12 times or whatever the number was. And on the shot that they actually got for the album cover, there was a gust of wind that came up, and he got burned. And he said, "That's it, I'm done." And whoever was taking the photograph said, "No problem, we got the shot that we wanted." That
Yeah, no problem. 3rd-degree burns. We got the shot. Yeah. Was it Nikki Six?
So of course that album cover came with a outer package, much like an album I'm sure we're going to get to here in a second. My copy doesn't have the cover, but that's Pink Floyd. Wish You Were Here.
Are you talking about the image where it's like the two?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe it, but yeah. So if you get the cassette of that, I think the old like cassette of that, that's what the cover is.
Oh, okay.
Very similar to the one I'm sure you're referring to.
Yes.
Yeah. I guess Chris, have you got any more from?
I think my next one. No, my next one's that's it for up to 75.
Okay. All right. Well, in that case, let's start with Jax, and we'll move on to the 1976-79 period.
Okay. Cool. So
This is really cool, guys. We're getting a good variety here.
Good variety for sure. Yeah, lots of different bands. My first one from '76, as I alluded to earlier, Dirty Deeds.
Surprisingly, I don't have. I love that.
Yeah, and this one bears some explaining.
Yes, it does.
Because this is not the original cover.
No,
for Dirty Deeds.
It makes no sense. I've tried to piece together the story, and I can't come up with anything like.
Yeah. Chris, can you tell us what so this is the
Yep, I can. Yep, go ahead.
This is the North American version of Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. And even though the album is from 1976, it didn't come out in North America until 1981. So this was actually the very next thing to come out after Back in Black and before For Those About to Rock, We Salute You, which is why of the Bon Scott albums, this is far and away the biggest selling because it was the very next thing to come out after Back in Black. There's so many things I don't understand. Why isn't the logo on here?
Yeah,
I kind of get the concept. I'll let Chris tell us about it because I have theories about this album. It does not look like an AC/DC album cover.
Oh God, no. And even that logo is not the famous AC/DC logo. So the whole idea was the portrait was supposed to be of unknown persons. So no one in there is famous. There's obviously no one from AC/DC. They talk about the techniques a bit, but the idea was to have a narrative behind the colorful photographic collage. Life on the sleazy side of LA's Sunset Strip can be desperate, and I'm sure the motel where I shot this photograph has seen more unpleasantness that you can shake a stick or shake a whip at. So the idea about Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, the title of the album, and the picture suits the rough and ready image of this hefty rock band. So it was trying to capture, I guess, a little bit of, the sleazy kind of dirty rock that AC/DC played with the sleaziness of LA's Sunset Strip. So here's an example. They sent Aubrey Powell to LA to shoot that motel. I wonder if it's still there, which was shot. And then they overlaid the photos of the various unknown people with Jex, like you did at the beginning. As soon as you put that thing across your face, I was like, he's up to no good. Like, what's going on there? There's something nefarious happening.
And those bars are still on the back cover, but the people aren't there.
Yeah.
Right.
And the photography is so what's the word, contrasty, you know what I mean, like everything is
Yeah.
it's not that light airbrushed look, it's very stark.
So they say the idea for using those black strips across the eyes, right, was to kind of disguise the faces of the people who they say might have been indulging in strange practices and have no wish to be exposed to judgment, criticism, or the law. They keep themselves safe from prying eyes. So it's that whole idea of there's something going on. Like you said, guys, we don't know what's going on in this picture or what happened, but the way they've shot it and with those blackouts across the eyes takes you immediately to like, oh man,
Yeah.
what's going on at this sleazy hotel in LA with
And
all
it's
these
like
people?
it's such a different variety. Like you have a sweet old lady. What could she have done?
Right.
Like a young boy wearing a tie. Like
The ones you never suspect.
And the dude from the Village People with his left.
Yeah. No, he looks like
So
he's up to no good.
And if
I
you
also
look on the back cover, because somebody's standing in front of it on the front, this says night window. Now, what could that be?
Huh.
That seems like very, for a fee, I'm happy to be, et cetera, et cetera.
I also read that the black over the eyes, that was around that time that like the rag magazines like the National Enquirer were using a lot.
Yes.
And that's what they were kind of going for there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Chris, does it say when this artwork was actually done?
Well, it says that it doesn't say specifically, but it does say 1976. Aubrey Powell did all the photography, and that it was 1976 is just the general date.
Okay.
So it would have been done based on what I've read in the book in terms of when these guys were creating the album covers. The process was sometimes quite lengthy in terms of the whole, from start to finish and presenting it to the band and getting it approved. So I don't know when in 1976 this album came out in the UK. So it could have been, to your point, maybe a little bit earlier in 75, but just based on the sheer amount of work that went into these, this was not I'm going to whip up an album cover in a couple days type venture.
Yeah. So it's interesting because if anybody's familiar, like really diehard AC/DC fan, you'll know the Australian album covers, most of the early ones don't look anything like the ones that we're familiar with. And this was supposed to be the second North American release on Atlantic after a High Voltage.
Right. But
Atlantic Records in the US rejected it. And that's why it sat for a while. So it's interesting that cover would have sat around, but if the cover had sat around and was done in 1976, it makes a little bit more sense that the logo isn't on here.
Yes, right, exactly.
Because they didn't have the logo yet. They didn't have the logo until Let There Be Rock.
Right.
So that kind of explains that a little bit.
There you go.
All right. So I guess Chris is next.
Yes. So we're heading into 1976. And this is album number 3 from Bad Company.
Yeah.
This is Burning Sky. Oh, Airbug's got one too. I really love this album cover too. So shot of the band and the gateway.
Oh, nice.
And how much does this look like Houses of the Holy?
Right?
Well, the colors remind me of Holy Diver. Kind of.
Well,
yeah, a little bit, yeah.
It also remind like this is almost like Lord of the Rings, like Mordor looking. Yep. And I've got an inner sleeve with this one that just is more of the same.
Yeah, mine doesn't have the inner sleeve.
And there's not a lot of text on it either.
No, it's really just
not a lot of text on it.
So this is cool. They did this. Again, this is a little for the photography nerds in terms of how they shot it. It was shot on 35 millimeter and processed to give a grainy quality by jumping the ASA from 400 to 3000. So it was a backlit portrait. You can see the long shadows of the band. And it was kind of the way they wanted to make it look was, Bad Company had kind of that like Western kind of look going on, right? And they wanted to convey a attitude of like, don't mess with us.
And so Paul Rogers is dressed as a samurai.
Yeah.
Right. But it was inspired by those kind of, if you remember way back in the day, the posters of Westerns.
That
kind of like look overall.
Like here they come.
that's the whole, obviously the whole grainy looking image, but I love the overall look of that and how they got that really interesting graininess and with these long shadows when you look at it, is pretty impressive. And that, like, again, though, here's a great example. No name of the band anywhere. If you didn't know Bad Company, you wouldn't know who these guys were. Nothing to indicate anywhere on here the song titles, the name of the album, nothing.
And no continuity between the front and back cover and the gatefold.
Right, which is interesting.
Completely like that could have been an album cover all its own.
Yeah. But one thing again about Hipgnosis and their designs and their cover art, and you throw it back to the 70s of the days and going into the record store, like all of these covers jumped out at you, right? Like, I can tell you back in my early days of buying albums, there were a few that I bought solely on how I was like, that cover looks so cool, I'm buying it, right? And then you get it home and you're either really shocked at how crappy it is or how great it is. But they did that, and these stood out in the record store. These covers, like, such an iconic piece of work, like unbelievable. But I love that cover. Great cover.
So I've got one that's I can only guess the reason it wasn't banned and hugely controversial is because it wasn't successful. And I've only got it on 8-track at this point. This is the 4th album by a group called Montrose.
Oh, yes.
This is long after Sammy Hagar left the group. The album title is Jump On It. And I'm just going to show this for a second.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Yeah.
Oh, boy. It's a kite, okay, isn't it? Yeah, that's a kite.
Oh, there's a few of those.
The back cover continues the theme, and so that's all I'm going to hold up to that. But man, talk about yeah. I don't know what more to say.
Hipgnosis, they love the human body and exploring it and making it into ways that could cause controversy. That's what they love.
Well, it's almost like they got the title Jump On It. I know, just the thing.
There's, looking through the book of the 383 different album covers, many of which I'd never seen before. There are quite a number of those, Tim, that have crotch shots, butt shots, etc. Tied into album titles that are very suggestive, that makes the consumer think about it, right? Like, and you can take it whichever way your mind goes. If it goes dirty,
And I got to check this because it's the 8-track, and sometimes with the artwork they would take liberties, but there's no text on that. But I just want to see what the
I'm looking at. They don't go into detail in the book on it, but there's a shot of it.
Yeah, there's no. I've just on Discog. Oh no, the band name and the title are up at the top of the vinyl.
Yeah, on the vinyl, yeah.
And incidentally, the second or the 3rd and 4th Montrose albums after Sammy Hagar left, they're the only. There's one more band album in 1987, but the Warner Brothers ones from 73 to 76, 75 and 76, the singer was named Bob James. They're both pretty good albums. They just didn't have the distinctness of having Hagar on vocals. Oddly, another thing that's odd about this is that Jump On It is one of Sammy's favorite ad-libs.
Oh, yeah.
In songs. He's always saying, jump on it, jump on it. Anyway, that's mine. That's the one that's going to get us tagged.
No, there's more. There's more.
Excellent.
We're only beginning.
All right, Bud. Let's keep it going.
So
jump on it.
Kind of keeping with the naughty theme, and I'm assuming that this one they had the title of the album already, and then the guys ran with it. But this is Technical Ecstasy.
Yeah.
So
the more you look at it, the worse it gets.
Yeah. So I think I remember reading that they were thinking, Technical Ecstasy, how would that actually work? And then they got the robots passing each other on the escalator, and things are happening.
Things are happening.
Things back cover. So
doesn't look like a Sabbath album cover at all. It looks like a prog album or a Kraftwerk, or it does not look like a Black Sabbath album cover.
You compare that one with their iconic debut album with that creepy kind of scene.
With the Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, or Paranoid.
So there's a great story about how that was selected as the cover by the band. So there was Hipgnosis had presented They had everybody in a room. Sabbath was in the room. They presented a whole bunch of ideas, and Ozzy was wasted and came in
No.
and was walking back and forth and saying, "I like that one. I don't like that one. I don't like that one." And it says here there was no conversation, no sales pitch, no explanations. He pointed suddenly at that one and said, "That's the one." And looked at the rest of the room as he was daring them to say, "No, it's not." And everybody went, "Yep, that's the one." And Ozzy, that was it. They were the guy. It was again, this was a graphics designed by George Hardy, and the robots designed by George Hardy. But the guys from Hipgnosis, according to the book, were like, "We're delighted but slightly stunned by the selection." And it seems like, I guess, like Ozzy had the final say. He was the one that said, "That's it." Looked back to the other rest of the band, and they were like, "Okay, Ozzy, yep, you're right. That's yours." But completely doesn't fit with Black Sabbath at all, right?
No.
Yeah.
Very weird, but great cover.
Okay, Jax, you got a lot to live up to now, man. We've got two in a row that are.
This one is actually pretty innocent in comparison. I'm going back to 76, and this is Genesis with A Trick of the Tail.
Yes, that was the one. That was the one with when Chris held up the inner sleeve to that Japanese Bad Company record. That's the color scheme I was reminded of.
Right. Yeah. Good call.
Yeah.
So
that's the first one with Phil Collins on vocals. That's after Peter Gabriel had left.
Right. Yes, I believe you're right. I'm still pretty new to Genesis. This is another one I received from my cousin. But yeah, this is it reminds me a lot of like old like kind of nursery rhyme books or like stories for kids back in the day, right? Like, but there's stuff going on. Like you can see a devil right here.
Yeah.
Like, kind of, I don't know, kind of like a Dracula type. It's.
I wonder if those characters are all based on the lyrics. I'm not familiar either. I've heard some of the songs on there, but it also looks like it should have been printed on like parchment paper, like very old.
Yeah, no, totally. So you have an old lady here. She's looking into a mirror and she's young and good looking. It's I'd be curious if it has to do with the lyrical content. Again, you have the gatefold, so you can look at the whole front and back as one.
That's cool. That's very cool.
See, the other great thing though about these covers, guys, is remember, again, you'd buy these albums and back in the day you'd put them on, but you would spend hours studying the artwork and the gate and the inner sleeve and reading it all. And to your point, Jax, like there's a lot going on with those characters. Like you could go down a whole road of like creating your own little story in your head of what's happening, right? And that was the great thing about these.
I mean, I did that with cassettes. You know?
Yeah,
absolutely.
So yeah,
that's a good one.
That's it.
That's a really good one.
Yeah. All right, Chris.
1976 continues, and this is I think this could probably warrant a whole separate documentary on its own. Is Led Zeppelin's Presence. This like the fact that they came up with this concept of album artwork designed around this. Remember the movie 2001 A Space Odyssey and the monolith. So I think that was kind of the inspiration. So you can see in all of these images
the obelisk,
black object, a family at dinner with a marina in the background, guys golfing with the black object, the teacher on the back. Like the amount of sheer creative genius that went into this is stunning.
That picture with a teacher, it weirds me out because she's got one hand on the object, and then the other hand on the boy's head. It's like, okay, it's like, what's happening there?
Right?
Yeah. Make him do math. And the other interesting thing about this, and it's probably in the book, but I find this fascinating too. Another real kind of a neat little thing. The Swan Song logo on the corner on the back is embossed, as is the Led Zeppelin Presence on the front. But when you look at this, you're not actually seeing that object. You're seeing the absence of it because there's no angles, there's no shadows. It's just a lack of space in the shape of that object. Now, the other
Right.
thing that's cool with this, if you're a big Zeppelin fan, they made kind of these cheap plastic things that they sent around to like the media and stuff.
Yes. Yes.
And they're worth lots of money, but I guess that they weren't really well made. And the other cool thing about this is that years later, Hugh Syme, when he worked on the Coverdale Page album, he kind of revisited this idea because if you know that album cover, it's got the road sign on the front. Every picture inside the CD booklet, or I'm assuming the vinyl, has that road sign showing up in all of those pictures. I think that's a nod to this album.
Yeah, this has got to be one of the more, again, we're talking about iconic album covers. This is definitely up there. Um, there's a lengthy piece in the book about it that goes on for 3 or 4 pages about kind of how they did it all. But again, they're flying these guys, this production or this graphics company all over the place. They went to Munich. They were taking shots everywhere. They were putting together this idea about having this object. So where that came from, just quickly, was they had a design. This is other thing. Back in the day, the labels had design meetings with the graphic artists. Like they were at a design meeting specifically to discuss what are we going to do for an album cover for Presents. Aubrey fell asleep, and when he awoke, everyone was excitedly discussing the pros and cons of an idea to do with a black object. Like, so again, where that came from in a meeting, everybody's maybe doing something funny on the side and they come up with this.
Yeah.
But that's exactly how it started out. It's crazy.
And this idea of that lack of something is revisited on another album that I'm sure most of us, if not all of us, will have.
Yes.
Yeah. And yeah, just the idea of it. But it's funny that you mentioned how much money was spent on these album covers. It makes sense for Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin because they were like huge. But UFO, like they're just no the record labels put money into everything, and the artwork was a big part of it. That's me, right? That brings it up to me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, might as well. Okay. I'm sure there's another one we'll talk about, but this album, and I never thought about it before until we're doing this, reminds me very much of Bad Company, Burning Sky. Very much. 1976. Nazareth.
Yes.
Close enough for rock and roll. It's got that same, like parts of this could be Burning Sky in the corners.
Yep, you're right.
It's weird. It's not using the Nazareth logo. So you've got these people looking inside a limo, like they got their faces pressed against the window. Continues on the other side, and everything is backwards.
The one's upside down. You ever notice that?
Yeah. And that upside down thing, that's very. So on the inside of it, you've got the band on the inside of the limo. And what else came with this? Not sure. So this is kind of weird. This is another one of those ones that has only lyrics to one song, the song Telegram. Huh. I see. That's the door handle.
Oh, there it is.
That's the door handle keyhole in it. So yeah, that's a very cool one. I like this one a lot. But it's the same year as Burning Sky or close to it. I really like that one.
It gives you 3 dimensions because you see like the inside, what's going on in the inside of the limo. You see outside with all the fans. You see the door handle. It gives you like
it tells the story.
Yeah, it totally does.
Awesome. Okay, Bug.
So speaking of UFO, I'm going to jump ahead a couple years and show one of my favorite live albums.
Yeah, that's a classic live album. Right
Probably their biggest album, isn't it?
I think so.
This is Strangers in the Night, of course, along with Thin Lizzy's live album. Was it Live and Dangerous?
Live and Dangerous, yeah.
These are probably 2 of my favorite live albums, and this is a great, great, great hard rock album. Too Hot to Handle, Lights Out, Rock Bottom, all the and I love these songs much more in a live format than the.
It's one of those cases where the live album is better than the actual studio. That's a great gatefold.
Yeah, great gatefold album. I found this album when I was in Florida about 12 years ago at a place called Bananas Records.
Yeah.
If you're ever down in St. Petersburg area, Bananas it's a warehouse. It claims to have about 1 million records in it.
Okay, I got to get there.
It is insane.
Group trip down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
All right. Me.
Yes, Jess.
All right. So still in 76 for me. Once again, Genesis, Wind and Withering.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Which this
Again,
is
gray.
right? And then see the tree is still very much living. It's got the leaves on it until you turn it around.
Ah,
And now, see,
that's a beautiful cover.
it is. And again, simple but
Yeah,
effective.
very effective.
So yeah, not much more to say about it. Genesis.
I like the way that the title and the band name is written on there too. Can you hold that up?
Oh yeah, because the end, yeah, Genesis, and then the end is the end for wind as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I don't think it's
that's the time period where if you ever see online people say here's Phil Collins dressed up like a hipster. He's got the beret and the hoodie and the beard. Doesn't even look like him.
I wonder if there is the inner sleeve as well. Looks to be lyrics.
And that's got a little bit more color in it. Yeah.
Yeah, a little more blue.
No band photos though.
Nope.
No band photos. Nope.
That's a great example though of I obviously had I don't know whether the title came first or the album design, but Wind and Wuthering, like it's perfectly matched up with the artwork.
Yeah. And again, it's very English.
Very English.
Yeah, agreed.
Very cool. All right, Chris.
All right, so this is a weird, well, I guess it's a weird one considering who the band is and what the cover looks like.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I was just gonna say, up until now, it's primarily UK artists, but there are a few American artists, even a few Canadian ones.
Yeah, that's still to come. But this one, this is a copy that I got that's actually you can see there, it's a special gold vinyl edition. So the album is gold.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll show you that in a sec. But
that's very Hipgnosis looking. Holy cow.
This is very Hipgnosis looking, right? Oh, there's my little notes on the back. So all of the late 40s, early 50s ladies are wearing the same earrings, if you can see, right? They're the Easter Island statues, which they are superimposed photos onto the background, which was a stock photo of Easter Island. And then they brought in the ladies, shot them, and superimposed the images of the women on top of the stock photo of Easter Island.
Surprised they didn't fly them there.
Right. Yeah. Well, so that was the one case specifically mentioned in the book where the label did not fly them there. That's why it's a stock photo of Easter Island.
They're probably like, a bunch of Americans.
Right. So, and the gatefold is great. It's the band superimposed on Easter Island. But it's interesting. So he presented this idea to Styx as kind of like a bunch of other ideas, and Styx was like, they saw it and they were like, we love it. And I read a piece about, so James Young today says it's the best cover they ever had. He said that I feel that in the era of vinyl, the detail really worked. If we'd had that sleeve specifically for CD, it would have lost impact, right? Which you can completely see based on looking at that.
Yeah.
Just the shrinking of the dimensions, you wouldn't get
the
full effect.
Exactly. So it's a really cool piece of artwork. The album's good too. This is what it looks like, just so you can see this.
Oh
wow.
I've come across that
so
one.
I don't know how many albums back in the 70s came out as colored vinyl. I don't think there was a lot. And then I also, just out of curiosity, I've got it on
picture disc.
Yeah.
Limited edition picture disc. I have number 49,115.
But that's like the perfect example, like Tim was saying, how they have a signature style, especially like if you look at their faces, the lighting, the shading, you know hypnosis from that type of photography. It's unmistakable. And I love that. This is like the perfect example of that.
And it's funny too. The interesting thing too about the band, thinking about it later, we're talking about it, that, you know, they're a 20 somethings, like kind of prog rock going into more like hard rock. You wouldn't think they would have pictures of middle-aged women on their album cover.
Yeah. But
right?
it works.
But it works.
Yeah. Yeah. So over to me.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. A band we've talked about many times. I'm sure some of us have this. Others have this too. Second one for the year. Led Zeppelin.
Ooh,
Song remains the
Song
same.
remains the same.
yes.
Different looking album cover. It's a photo of an old abandoned like movie theater, I think, which is embossed. Both of these pictures are embossed on the front and the back. I believe that the back cover is at night, because if you look at this front cover, there's a lamp,
Yep,
or a street light, and it's not on, but it's on here, so you can see the spotlight. And so it opens up. It opens up, and what's really neat about this, it's got a booklet in as part of the gatefold.
Very cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
With this is a bunch of shots that ended up in the movie, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, pretty cool.
That's another one that George Hardy, he did the illustrations for it.
Yeah,
that's a great design.
Yeah.
Not a great live album though.
No, tell you what, people might roll their eyes. If I want to listen to Led Zeppelin live, I listen to this Celebration Day, the one they did in 2007. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have that one. I don't have the album. I have the movie.
So yeah,
it's something else, man. It's because it's not just a live concert. You have like little
It's so weird. It's got Robert Plant with his family and horses. It's got the whole Jimmy Page like wizard sequence, and it's interesting. I remember when Much Music used to play it all the time too.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's not the best live performances either. Like that was, the story goes that footage was shot at the end of a tour. They weren't in the greatest of shape. So yeah, there's better live footage of Zeppelin from that era out there. That box set that came out in 2003, the one that's got like the big mountain on it, that's got some good stuff on it. But anyway, cool cover. All right, Bug.
All right, I'm going to go back to an artist that I showed in this period once already. This is Black Sabbath, Never Say Die.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That is a wicked cover.
That looks a little bit more Black Sabbath album cover.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So one of the interesting points about this is that the Rainbow album, Difficult to Cure, the shot that was ended up on that album cover was actually pitched to Black Sabbath for this album cover, and they rejected it and ended up in 83 Difficult to Cure, I think. Yeah. 81. And it's got a pretty cool inner sleeve as well. It's got some like blueprints for
whatever
it is. Yeah, so that's kind of the end of the road with the Aussie era, and let's never say die.
So I don't have that album, but have you noticed? So in the book, it talks about if you look carefully at the cover, you'll see ghostly images of flyboys in uniform dotted about amongst the clouds. So
I'm noticing that now, but I didn't notice that until you pointed
right.
out.
So these are the types of things, like I'm looking at the cover in the book and I can see it just barely now, but you can probably see it better on your copy.
Yep, definitely.
Crazy.
I've also heard Martin Popoff talk about the fact that, and it's probably in the book, but those masks, those aren't existing masks.
No, they're not.
They had to manufacture those specifically.
Yes, you're right. They were.
Those aren't functional, aviation masks.
So what it specifically said was they used the inspiration of the kamikaze suicide pilots from Japan, and then they went further to creating their own fetish-like uniforms with claustrophobic masks and highly colored tubes and headgear, more in keeping with experimental high-altitude pilots. So again, this weird, like, you look at that and you might go towards that fetish side of things, or you might not, depending on...
Yeah, if they weren't in like an airport setting, and let's say they were standing in front of that hotel on Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, you might think there's some strange things happening here.
Exactly.
So this is 1978. Star Wars came out in 1977. I see these guys walking into the canteen
Oh yeah. Yeah. Speaking of, and none of us have this. Another band that worked with Hipgnosis was the band Wishbone Ash. And if you look at their album cover, Chris might have
Yes,
called
I
Argus,
just
which
saw
I
it.
think came out in 1972. If that wasn't the inspiration for the Darth Vader helmet, I don't know what was. I'll give him a second
Oh
there.
yeah.
What year
Like
was that,
that's
Tim?
it's
70?
crazy how much it looks like Darth Vader before there was Darth Vader.
Was
Yeah.
that 72? You said.
I think so. Yeah,
I think it's 71.
71. Okay,
Let's see
I'm
if I.
not overly familiar with Wishbone Ash, but I do know that album cover. Once somebody mentioned it, I can't help but think it.
Yeah, they worked with Wishbone Ash. There's another one they did with them as well in 76, I think. I'll see if I can find it in here while you guys are.
There's a
Okay.
really there's a really cool story about the so I think in the album cover he's got a spear, but
Yes.
originally he was supposed to have a sword, and it was a sword they had borrowed from Roman Polanski, the movie director. And they decided once they got there and they set the shot up that the sword wasn't going to work, so they ended up using a spear. But then they lost the sword on their way back to England, and they blamed it on the the airplane company, and they actually got insurance money for it. But they had lost it somewhere along the photo shoot.
Oh, you know what? Here we go, guys. You are okay. The Darth Vader thing, it's bang on.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, that if you were to show that to just about anybody, they'd say, "Who is that?" They'd say, "Well, it's Darth Vader." I don't know why he's holding the spear, but that's Darth Vader.
That's got it. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 5 years before the movie came out, 4 years before it would have been. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. All right. Jax?
Okay. So I'm gonna take it back a little bit. We are going to 77. We have the Alan Parsons Project.
Oh, great
The
stuff.
first of
Yeah.
many appearances. This is iRobot. Very reminiscent of that Black Sabbath that Bug showed earlier.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, the robot thing. And this, again, I'll show the gatefold. There's like a lot going on. It seems to be taking place in some sort of, I don't know, lab or.
Yeah, that if I recall, I think that's an actual place.
It is. Yeah.
And it's also where, I don't know if anybody's going to show it, but there's another album cover that was shot in the same location.
So it's Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris.
Oh, wow. And that's what I love is that you could tell this is real life. This is a real place, but the robot is animated.
Yeah.
And I love that
It almost
contrast.
looks like one of the Technical Ecstasy.
Yeah.
Maybe it's their kid.
So that guy in the middle there, the actual, there's a guy on the front cover, standing in the middle tier pointing. No, go back to the front, Jex.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Oh.
that guy. So that is Peter Christensen, who was an assistant with Hipgnosis and became a partner of theirs later in the 70s. That's actually him. So
I thought you were going to say that's Peter Chris.
yeah.
And what I like, again, kind of like the dirty deeds. Like you have this guy. I don't know why, but he looks like he's up to no good. There's like
He
some
looks like he's up to no good. Yeah.
But again, get this, guys. So speaking to the band or the Hipgnosis went to Charles de Gaulle Airport and actually had to spend time dodging the airport authorities who forbade photography, it says. Because
Wow.
they were running around the airport, doing these shots in the morning, getting what they needed, and avoiding airport security.
Jax, hold up the photo of the guy with the hat on again.
Oh.
He looks like he's trying to beat Indiana Jones to find out where the Ark is buried.
Yeah, with the white suit. Yeah.
Looks like Belloc.
So that,
And so the other album cover that was filmed there was UFO Lights Out.
oh yeah.
So if you look at the two of those,
I think there's actually another one, and it's one that doesn't look like your typical Hipgnosis album cover. It's Wings, Speed of Sound. I think that's what it's called.
Okay.
Yeah, that's also shot at the Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris.
That might be because they did do work for Wings and Paul McCartney. So it might
yeah,
be
they did Venus and Mars.
Yeah.
Band on the Run.
Yeah. Incidentally, Band on the Run. Did you guys know that those are actual? Those are real people there. It's like the band members.
Yeah.
Christopher Lee is one of them.
Oh,
they
yeah.
hired some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I only found that out lately.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
So, over to
Oh,
Chris.
all right. So continuing the theme of our friends in Bad Company.
Yes.
We've got their 1970. This is into 79 now. So 1979.
Good album.
Desolation Angels. This was a massive album for them. After after their previous one, I guess, was Burning Sky, didn't do so well. But this has Rock and Roll Fantasy on it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a huge hit.
This
is a fantastic gatefold.
And like Presence, this is the one, like Presence, you're not seeing those white spaces are just absent. There's nothing there. They're just in the shape. Yeah. So it's like a reverse of the Presence concept. Even like, Mick Ralph's here pouring himself a drink into an invisible cup, and Paul Rogers having non-existent watch and glasses, and
he's checking the clock to see what's going on. But this one, they said it was inspired by. So the title was taken from a Jack Kerouac novel, and then the band asked them to come up with a cover shot, and they decided which they did on the back cover. They did this, but then they came up with the idea of masking out sections of them with that white space, right? And this is where the design came from, the idea. The approach was inspired by kits for model airplanes with their exploded parts laid out and labeled on a white background as a guide to assembly. And they wanted to convey the hectic schedule of a band on tour, moving from city to city until life becomes one big white blank.
Wow, that's cool.
Kind of the inspiration behind it. And just going to see if the inner. So the inner, there's the inner.
So there's the invisible car. All you see is the bumper and the tire and light. Now, what do you know? Does it say where this was shot? It looks like it was shot somewhere like in the southern states. Or
so you're right. Guess where they went for this one? He found himself photographing. This is Aubrey Powell, an old garage near Death Valley Junction. Okay. So way down there. And again, so the guy that's looking into the engine on the front, that again is Peter Christensen.
It's Peter Chris.
Peter Christensen. So a Hipgnosis assistant, who, as I read, was involved in some really interesting art rock, crazy British band. But he was a Hipgnosis partner later on. So that's him again. And so this is again another one of my favorite gatefolds. I love this image of the Death Valley garage gas in the middle of nowhere, right? Just the desolation, right? Like
it's like your last stop before, like,
exactly.
You better gas up here and get something.
Gas up here, yeah. The hills have eyes.
The hills, yeah. Very cool. Okay, so for my next one, I'm gonna zip back to 77, and this is another example of an American artist having Hipgnosis do a cover. And a lot of times, if they in like this case, recorded in England, it usually was the whole thing. You recorded there. You get your artwork down there. So this is the second solo album by Sammy Hagar.
Oh, I love that cover.
Never even seen that.
Also known, it's self-titled, also known as the Red Album. I can't imagine why. Everything on this is red. And and this looks very English too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
In the back cover, if you look close, you can see Sammy's guitar in the back of the car.
Yeah. So that's South London.
Yeah.
So is this where the Red Rocker name came from, or was he?
Yeah, this has the song Red, and this is really where he started to embrace that because, there you go. Sleeve concept, Hipgnosis / Hardy. So there you go. Yeah, this album was actually recorded at Abbey Road. So strings and so there you go. It's very Hipgnosis looking by an artist you wouldn't necessarily think would have had any Hipgnosis ties. Oddly enough, Montrose, his former band, also used Hipgnosis. So
I love the red on that.
Yeah.
Supposedly they're not sure to this day whether Sammy actually liked that cover, because they actually mentioned that when it was re-released, that image was replaced by a shot of just Sammy, black shirt on a red background, is with red lettering on some.
That's interesting because that sounds more like the Street Machine album cover. I've never seen a variant of this one.
Yeah, that's what they said in the book, that they weren't sure that he ever liked it because when it was re-released, the image was replaced by a shot of him simply wearing a black T-shirt on a red background. So that would be one to dig up.
Boy, I don't know. I don't want to disagree with Aubrey Powell, but I'm news to me. Anyway, okay, so over to Bug.
Yeah. So yeah, you mentioned Peter Christensen's band. I believe they were called Throbbing Gristle. And
You're
Yeah,
right.
I've heard of them. I didn't realize that was
Weird stuff.
definitely left of the dial if you want to call it
Yeah.
that. So I've got one more to show in this time period we're looking at, and like a previous album from this band, you could probably talk for a long, 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 long time about this one.
Oh yeah.
So this is In Through the Outdoor.
So this is where it gets really interesting because I'm interested to see which cover shots we actually have. I don't have the one with the version with the bag.
My bag is pretty intact.
I think we have the same one, Tim.
Yours is reversed.
Mine's this one,
isn't it?
Is it?
Yours, the guy is up closer. Now yours is different, Jax. It looks like Bug and I might have the same one.
Actually, I think.
Mine's the A cover.
I don't know which version this is.
Is the hold on.
What's the back? The back cover looks the same on all of them.
F.
That's Renee Belloc again.
Oh, my back is. Tim's got an interesting back on yours. Yeah.
This is a Canadian version. Let me see. I'm not sure. I had determined which one of these that I actually owned.
But if you look on the spine, right at the top, it should tell you mine is F.
Oh, right. That's right.
Mine's A.
Oh, okay. Mine is F too, Jack. So
okay.
Maybe it's because the way I'm filming it's reversed. But yeah, so we've got the F version.
So Chris and I both have the A version. And the other cool thing about this is, of course, the inner sleeve.
The inner, yeah.
And mine is not colored either.
No.
But look at this, guys.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the way this inner sleeve was designed is if you got it wet, the color will come out.
Yeah.
Right? Which is wild.
How much would that have cost? I mean,
right?
Like that's a lot to go into an album cover.
And this was another example where they flew to New York and he took shots at bars.
Wasn't it New Orleans?
Yeah, it was New Orleans.
Oh, yeah. New Orleans. Sorry, you're right. New Orleans. You're right. Yes, correct.
But recreated that bar in New York on a set.
There's what it was. Was.
So I think all the money went into, instead of this would have been a great gatefold.
Oh my God, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love the fact that they were sitting around and said we could put a record in the brown paper bag and
Led Zeppelin was so big.
And they would sell. They would sell also, millions and millions.
You didn't know which one you didn't know which cover you were getting.
That's the fun part, right?
Pretty brilliant. I mean, and that's 79. That's pretty early on for thinking like that. Maybe, hey, let's see if we can sell the same album to the same people.
Absolutely.
Collect them all.
Right. So I would have, if that was falling into a band that I collected, absolutely, I'd be hunting out every single version of that album cover. 100%.
Also, I love this album.
Yes, it is a good album.
One of my favorites. Yeah,
it is a good album.
Yeah. Cool.
Great.
That's Jax. Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to take it back a few years now to 77. I'm surprised no one showed this one yet. I will have to do some strategic covering.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the Yes album. Yeah.
Yes. Going for the one.
Yeah.
Again, the human body. They love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. And this is the first time that they didn't work with Roger Dean.
Oh, right.
Very different looking than his usual like world building. It's a great album.
This is a triple. Well, I'm losing my.
Yeah.
It's a triple gatefold.
Yeah. There's a lot to take.
Oh, that's a great gatefold.
Yeah.
Cool. I think these pictures were taken in Switzerland, but I could be wrong. I think the album was recorded in Montreux, Switzerland. I think.
You know that, Tim, though, that logo is still the Roger Dean logo.
Oh, yeah. They kept the logo, which they didn't always.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so the inner sleeve just has these, I'm not sure, diamond rings? Road? I'm not sure. there's very little yeah. And in this case, it actually this is actually the first time that the artwork continues onto the record itself.
Oh, I love that.
Oh yeah. The theme, yeah, they keep the
I love
theme.
that.
Yeah.
So
So
this,
yeah, prog bands with naked dudes, I don't get it because in '78, Rush did Hemispheres, and it's almost the same thing.
well, the crazy thing is too, think of the era, right? So the literal quote from Aubrey Powell in the book is there was a lot of fuss from the label when they presented that cover because they said a naked man, the fans will think the group's gone gay.
Oh,
Hipgnosis and Yes stood firm and the cover went to press. But that was
And
the
that's
thing.
not the first time.
Right.
That's not the first time that Hipgnosis were that sort of thing happened, and it didn't end up being used.
Right.
I think you know what I'm talking about a few years ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so that was Jack's. Okay, so Chris.
Okay, so this is another cover from a band that they worked with a fair bit that was the controversy and the sexist comments and the all the rest of it with our good friends in Scorpions.
Yeah.
Love Drive.
I don't have the back cover, but I couldn't show it if I did.
Well, we'll do this.
There you go. There you go.
And I won't take out the inner sleeve because the inner sleeve has more of our lovely lady friend topless on it.
I've never
But
seen the inner sleeve.
the inner, you know what? Actually, you know what? Let's pull it out.
Jack's Facebook
Let's pull it out.
marketplace.
We'll show. So the inner sleeve has that on it.
Okay.
And I'll just blur out that a little bit, but it's a close up of the gum. But you got the Scorpions, man. They love this stuff. So this is hilarious because this is pure Scorpions from that era. They were all very, very involved in what they wanted for Love Drive. They all spoke up forcibly, disputing all manner of things from sport to politics to music, with the exception of two items. The title of the album was Love Drive, and the cover had to be about sex. That was like their Hipgnosis. You need to make it that.
And there's an alternate cover for that.
Yes, there is.
That just has a scorpion.
Correct.
The logo, and it says Love Drive underneath it, I think.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's right.
They're
That's
like
right.
the kings of alternate covers.
Yeah. So it was again another one that, depending on where you were in the world, that, you know, in the US that would have been a controversial cover. Yeah. Whereas I've read articles from the Scorpions about a bunch of their covers and their history.
Definitely not the most controversial.
No, not the no, we won't even talk about that one.
Yeah.
But they didn't understand what the fuss was, right? Because they said, like, in Europe, like, you see boobs, it's not a big deal. They didn't get they didn't get the controversy.
Conservative,
right, the conservative US Canadian kind of mindset at the time. But it's, you know what, it's I look at it now and I'm like, only in the late 70s would that have actually.
It's why the gum. That's what I was wondering.
So here's the gum thing. So they wanted to get a smart-looking, upwardly mobile couple. He was indulging in a harmless fetish, loosening her breasts from her dress and attaching a piece of chewing gum, which he then extended, stretching it out. We always felt marginally uncomfortable with the piece because of accusations of sexism, but the Scorpions loved it, and it's an engaging piece of surrealist imagery. So it was just basically, they threw it out there as he's playing around.
And it still looks like artwork. That's the thing. It looks like abstract art.
It does. And I actually love the back shot, right, of the two of them, like, laughing it up, holding a picture of the band.
It almost looks like an outtake, like, you know, like.
Right. Yeah. Right. It's like, we're going to hand you this picture of the band now, minus Michael Schenker, who did play on some of this album, but obviously was out by that point. So yeah, there's the Scorps with maybe one of the bands with the most controversial catalog of album covers.
Yeah. Even Love It for Sting, which is tame, had a.
And we got more to come too.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Oh yes. Okay. Me.
Yeah.
Okay. Another artist that I've already talked about. This is a very, very strange cover, and it almost doesn't even look like the artist himself. 77, again, third solo album from Sammy Hagar.
Oh,
this is Musical Chairs. It hardly even looks like him. He's got short hair. There's almost except for his name. There's
Sammy?
no red in it.
That's Sammy?
Yeah, right? That's what I thought.
Wow.
I can kind of see it, yeah, but
Yeah. So it's very, very Hipgnosis looking. And then the back cover, it gets weirder. Okay, so you also see these like marbles or whatever that have the light in them. That continues on the back cover where Sammy's giving his band karate lessons. Musical chairs. I don't know.
That's wild.
But this is a weird. There's like a playground background. This is one of those ones, like it took me a long time to find Hagar's Capital stuff, and I didn't know what the album covers looked like. I could have easily skipped past this and not known
I never
what
would have.
it was.
No.
So yeah. So there you go. That is another Hipgnosis package design. It could. Who else could it be?
That's amazing.
Yeah. Okay, Bud.
I'm all out for this time period. I had Scorpions. Scorpions Love Drive was my last one, so we'll move on back to Jex.
Okay, I do have a few more. Let me just see.
There's one in particular I'm waiting on that I know Jex has because I was with him when he bought it.
Oh yeah, yeah. But for now, we stick with Tormato,
which I have as a picture disc.
Oh, picture disc, very nice.
This is a Record Store Day limited edition 40th anniversary picture disc. And I also want to point out, I brought this with me because I think it's really great. Kevin Mulverne from the Yes Music podcast wrote an entire book on Tormato, and there's a lot here about doing the album, about Hipgnosis and shooting the album cover. Now, the reason that the album is called Tormato is because there is a place called Yes Tor as in a rock formation. So maybe it looks better on the on Jax's actual but it's like a rock formation, and that's actually that's what they based it on. And there's this guy with like divining sticks, and the inner sleeve's really interesting too. I don't actually have it, but yeah, Kevin goes into a lot of detail about the shooting of it, and this is the second and last time they worked with Hipgnosis. And depending on who you talk to, I think every one of the band members has said at one time or another they're the ones that threw the tomato at the finished image because they didn't like it. But then the Hipgnosis guy said, no, that was one of our guys. So it grew from there. That's why it's got that unusual title, because it was supposed to be called Yes Tor, and then it became Tormato, and
and it's simple, right? Because it's just a picture of a drummer whose face is not revealed, and then you have the tomato that was added on afterwards, and it
still using the logo.
Yeah, still the same Yes logo.
Yeah.
Interesting piece of Yes trivia for you, that the next time that Hipgnosis worked with them was when Hipgnosis was a film company.
Yep.
And they shot the video, and it makes sense, the original video for Owner of a Lonely Heart.
Yeah.
Which you can see was Hipgnosis style.
It's very abstract and weird. It's almost like some of their album covers come to life.
Exactly.
And yet the album cover at that time, 90125, was like early computer graphics, didn't look anything like anything they'd done before.
Exactly.
Over to Chris.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're into, this is 1980 for me. I don't have.
Okay, so actually no, that's it for me. So yeah, that's the end of. So
Next,
now
have more.
Now we've reached the home stretch of.
But I've got a few more to show in this.
Okay, Jax. Yeah, let's.
You want me to just show them?
Finishing up through 79.
Okay, so real quick, 78.
I love this one.
Yes.
Alan Parsons Project. I might as well unfold it because it's a whole image.
Yeah, that is so. I'm not sure what's going on there, but it's awesome.
Well, it says it. I know he's like watching TV, and I don't know if he's getting like, is it like Poltergeist before Poltergeist? Like,
oh yeah,
right. So yeah, it's again, it leaves you to your own interpretation, right? Because it looks like a hotel room. He's watching TV, and he's kind of becoming one with the airwaves. I don't know, but it's
That's actually Alan Parsons.
Without saying it like Dr. Evil, the Alan Parsons Project.
That's Alan Parsons, and I won't go into great detail about it, but reading about it, Alan Parsons was going through some weird stuff at the time, shall we say?
Okay.
And that was kind of the idea was that was taking what he was experiencing at the time and all that, like whatever's going on with the image with him like melting away or whatever. It was, yeah, it was all around his mindset at the time and all. And it's very interesting reading about how they came up with it. But it's a very, very cool
See,
design.
And it's interesting too because I mean, Alan Parsons was an engineer
Yeah.
at Abbey Road Studios, so he actually worked on Dark Side of the Moon
Yeah.
as an engineer
Yep.
before forming a band.
Exactly. Yeah. He was going through, yeah, there was stuff here about he was, because it was all, if you see that pyramid on the cover, there was, and there's, if you look on, it says, you look at the lamp and the here it is.
oh yeah.
Lamp of the alarm clock, which on closer inspection had stopped at 314, which represents the value of pi, which in turn is tied up with the numerological properties ascribed to the design of the pyramid. Alan's obsession with began to run away with him, and he started to have an out-of-body experience. Emanations from the Great Pyramid were beginning to interfere with his sense of reality. So that's kind of where you get that weird whatever's going on with this. Well, that's, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. A lot of it. A lot of it.
Dude.
There you go.
So I'll go on to my next one again. 1978. This is the one Tim was referring to because he
Oh
was
yeah.
there. This is
NCC.
NCC Bloody
They did a
Taurus.
lot of work with 10cc.
They
Yeah.
did. This is the only one I have of theirs. But again, the gatefold for the full
Oh, great.
effect here. So what it is, it's simple. It's just a
Oh,
tourist
Is
who
there
got
is
a
there a
map.
topless? Is that what is that in the back? A person on the back cover in the water?
Yeah, it seems to be a topless woman, but from the back. You don't see. It's not explicit or anything. But of course, there's going to be a topless woman. It's a hypnosis.
She's on a dreadlock holiday. Leave her alone.
She is. And then once again, they have the band photo, but there's like colors and swirls. Like it's as if it's their trajectory or something.
Oh yeah, the planes are the
Yeah.
flight path.
Yeah, they had some very striking Hipgnosis album
They
covers.
did.
Yeah. So I like that one. Simple, and it's kind of humorous too, just with the map in the face because of all the wind, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Great cover.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, we'll on that later.
So I think, yeah.
My last
Anyway.
one,
Oh,
Another one. I love that.
and yeah, this is my last one for this period, and it reminds me a lot of one that we've already looked at. Again, Alan Parsons.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It looks like the Styx one.
It does Pieces of Eight because it's just women.
Yep.
Yeah.
Younger this time, but it's just like again the lighting, the shading. It's very very Hipgnosis-esque.
Yeah.
So, oh, and again, the gatefold for full effect. Real quick. There you go.
And they look like they're judging you.
Yes. They're very, very serious and unimpressed.
Yeah. They have determined that you are lacking in every way. And you end up looking like that dude in the bag.
There you go. And I think that's my last. Oh no, we got more Alan Parsons to come.
Awesome. So that's it for this time period?
This time period, it is my last. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to move into 80 to 83 in the demise of Hipgnosis.
Sunset of Hipgnosis.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about more controversy. Why not? Right.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yes.
Scorpions.
There's a lot to unpack here.
There's a lot to unpack here. I'll get into a bit of
1980.
detail. So this is Animal Magnetism from 1980. There's the back cover, very similar. And then we've got the insert, which has a little bit more. The dog's kind of licking his chops there. And then on the back, we've got a shot of the band, but then the dog is looking like he's about to take whatever's in that guy's hand from him or bite him. So Herman Rarebell, the drummer for the Scorpions, came up with the Animal Magnetism title. And in Scorpions fashion, right, they wanted something obviously controversial. But the funny thing is that Storm, in talking about this, they said this is a funny album cover because they hadn't figured it out entirely at the time and they didn't know what was going on, but something rude was happening somewhere. So there's a lot of implications here about controversy with like implying that a female is a pet or a slave and
Yeah.
that she's an animal and she's got this magnetized look at some object that we can't see on the other, right? So all going again into this like kind of, if you want to go that way, like we said, depending on what you're
Well,
thinking,
you know,
a fetish type.
this is the whole, like, unlike the Love Drive cover, this is one, you know, where you could really do, you know, the whole PMRC thing. Like D. Snyder would say, well, I can't
Right.
help it. The Tipper Gore has a dirty mind.
Right, exactly. This is a woman with her pet dog or his, like, and there's nothing untowards going on
Yeah.
here.
What do you think's happening there? I want
Yeah,
to
what
hear
do you
you
think's
say it.
happening here?
Yeah.
I
One real fun thing that ever since I heard it, it's like the Scorpions logo, the font came from the movie Rollerball.
Oh
Yes,
yeah, I see it. I see
yes,
it.
Apparently they loved that movie. And I looked at it, I'm like, that's totally where it came from.
you're right. That's an interesting tidbit.
I saw someone post this on, I think it was on Instagram lately, and it was from another country, another pressing, and the dog was actually very much closer, where you couldn't even see the tip of his
Oh,
skull. That's even more suggestive. So I don't know if this is like more censored for us, for the American public, or the dog is
Yeah.
further back. But the one I saw was like, wait a minute, I never noticed that, and then I took out my copy. I'm like, oh, it's not like that on mine.
Hmm.
So yeah,
that's intriguing.
interesting.
Okay, so me?
Him, yeah.
Okay. I'm guessing we all have this one, or most of us will. 1981,
Yep, I think we know where we're going.
the second album by a band, one of their best, High and Dry.
Hey,
And
first one we all have, I think.
yeah, yeah.
It is.
And this is interesting because I am just going to make a guess, and Chris could prove me wrong. He's got the book here, but I'm guessing this was an existing design because how does a young band end
Yep.
up with a Hipgnosis album cover? So I'm
It
guessing
was.
this was pitched to someone and rejected, although it does kind of fit the title. You know, there's no water in the pool. And over the years, I don't think I noticed it until I got it on vinyl. I certainly didn't see it on the cassette, and I don't think I saw it on the CD, where these men that are looking up and they're looking down on the back cover, sometimes they have a mustache, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
So
you're right, Tim. This was a reject and guess what the original intended artist was for this one? Pink Floyd.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, so this was intended originally. It might have been the cover of Atom Heart Mother. It was intended for
That's
two.
the one with the cow on it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So it was a reject from Floyd. But if you look, it has similarities, right, to some of the I think it was on Wish You Were Here, the album. There's a diver on
Yeah.
the cover somewhere on the Pink Floyd album Wish You Were Here. But yeah, so Def Leppard got a reject cover from Hipgnosis.
But the prestige of being able to say
Right.
album art by Hipgnosis at that early in their career.
Exactly. That's my inner sleeve on the Japanese.
I've never seen that before. I've never had one with the inner sleeve. I've got two. I've got the 81 and the 84 version. Neither of them have inner sleeves.
Yeah, so that's the Japanese.
Just real quick, I forgot to mention this when we were talking about Tormato. One of the ideas that Hipgnosis had pitched to Yes for the Tormato album cover is just simply to have text, white text on a black background. They rejected it. It ended up going to the band XTC.
Oh yeah,
which
yeah.
they used for their album Go the Number 2, which is also 1978. So
right
there you go. And I wonder if that's where the idea, it's not Hipgnosis, but I wonder if that's where the idea came from for Alice Cooper, Zipper Catches Skin, which is just the lyrics to the album on the front cover.
Quite
so
possible.
There you go. So yeah, Bug.
Andy.
Oh,
yeah. So I only have a couple in this time period. One of them being High and Dry, and at one point I thought I guess I didn't look at it closely enough, but I thought that was the same person on every face, and then I realized it's not. Like Tim said, some have mustaches, some
do you know
don't.
who those people were, Chris? No,
I have no clue.
hired some guys.
Yeah. who all looked relatively similar, but also just Chris mentioned the diver. It's on the inside cover.
There you go. Yeah.
So that
I've never seen that before.
the guy that was in the water there, he could hold his breath for 3 minutes. And it took them a long time to get that shot, but they finally got the perfect one of him being perfect up and down and in the water. So the only other one I have for that time period is one that we've talked about a lot. The band is Coda by Led Zeppelin.
That doesn't strike me as a Hipgnosis cover.
No, not at all.
No.
The back a little bit more.
The back does. That almost looks like the inner sleeve or the inside of Tramato.
Yeah.
But it's embossed, which is kind of neat. The title is embossed. This, of course, was the last Led Zeppelin album. It's kind of cool collage of photos, but I mean, that doesn't necessarily look like a Hipgnosis cover either. And got a nice hard cardboard sleeve inside of it.
Yeah, which
But
I've always
it doesn't look like Hipgnosis. It actually says sleeve design, / assorted images. That would be all the different photographers. So
yeah. So on that inner sleeve, I've always thought if you just pulled that out, it looks like Led Zeppelin 1 with that line.
Oh yeah, yep,
yeah.
But yeah, cool collage of photos inside, and it's kind of a textured cover with the embossing. Pretty cool. But that's the only other one I have. I had Dirty Deeds in this section of albums, thinking it came out in '81.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that we could have been, we could have put it in either place.
sure.
Yeah. Okay, Jex.
All right. So I didn't forget to bring it this time. I did in the previous video. Harlequin, Love Grimes.
Yeah, some CanCon.
Yeah.
A couple Harlequin albums.
I didn't even know this was Hipgnosis until Tim pointed it out, because if you go on their Wikipedia, it's not on there.
I had no
I
idea
to
either.
Discogs to find out. The first two Harlequin albums, Victim of a Song, and this one are both.
Yeah.
And again, this one almost like, is this the same roadside as Animal Magnetism?
Yeah, it's like, what is going on? Like somebody kind of walking to something happening, but they leave you in just the right amount of suspense.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of innocence here.
Yeah. So, yeah. Again, it lets you take your make your own interpretation.
You gotta wonder how much. Again, Harlequin, Canadian band, not a huge audience. Like, how much did that cost Harlequin and the label to have Hipgnosis?
It's just, it's an interesting thing because they weren't a big band. They were from somewhere out west, Winnipeg. Yeah. And they only did they did 4 albums back in the day, but that's probably their best known. But yeah, they had Jack Douglas producing.
Yeah.
Hugh Syme actually did the cover to the next one, the One False Move. But yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know how they ended up with that. And we should also mention the band Streetheart.
Yep.
Their album cover Under Heaven Over Hell. That's a Hipgnosis album cover. I don't know how they ended up with that either.
Exactly.
But you know what? There's agents, there's managers, there's the people have connections. So
all
maybe
right,
they got a deal on it.
We are.
Hugh Syme designed a book cover for me. It can happen.
Very good point. We are up to another album from the Alan Parsons Project.
Yeah.
This is I love this album. This copy is my original that I got from Columbia House in 1983.
Nice.
So I love the simplicity of the album cover. This is the Egyptian god Horus.
Horus, yeah.
The sky god. This is the Eye of Horus, which represents health and well-being, healing, and protection. So the whole album concept here was designed around the universal idea of someone looking down on us all, right? And this is cool because it's kind of got a little bit of a textured. The gold is, you can actually feel I guess it's kind of embossed.
Yeah.
And then on the back, you've got various images here. That's Alan Parsons, and I think that's Eric Wolfson down there on the bottom. And then the inner sleeve as well.
You see the logo in various places. It's kind of like a hidden image, much like the Blue Oyster Cult, how you always have to look for their logo, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So they've got a real theme going on. Like Alan Parsons always had some sort of overlying theme on all of his albums.
That image, that the Eye of Horus. I mean, there's a Billy Squier album called Tell the Truth that's blue, and it's got that same image on it. It's been used a lot.
Yeah, it's a great image, and I love the simplicity of this too. It's so eye-catching.
Yeah.
It's a great record too.
And
Um,
it's also interesting because anybody that's a basketball fan,
Serious.
um, serious, yeah, that's the Chicago Bulls
Yep.
entry music,
Oh, yeah.
which becomes
Eye
High
in the
in the
sky.
Sky,
And
which
Sky.
I've heard since I was 8 years old,
Exactly.
but I didn't realize it was one and the same.
One of my
Oh,
favorite songs of all time. Absolutely.
it's good. So good.
Yeah. Okay, so my next one we've already talked about from 1981. Rainbow, Difficult to Cure,
Oh,
There
right.
it
Yeah.
is.
which was originally pitched to Black Sabbath for Never Say Die, which would have worked.
Would have worked. Yep.
Um, in post COVID times, this is an eerie image, guys.
I
100%.
know.
Yeah. And then down here in the back in the corner, you've got and it's even more stark. This, you know what? This reminds me of the Metallica One video,
Yep.
Yes.
and they're all looking down.
Yeah, it's an interesting image.
And the inner sleeve has all of these. This is almost like the Forced album cover. These very clinical looking. All of these, like a scalpel and incisor or not incisors. You know what I mean? Needles, syringes, and everything's very clean looking. And I don't know if there's anything on the record itself is just the Polydor logo. But to go along with this, because I might as well talk about it here, I've also got the single to I Surrender, which
Oh,
is
nice.
cool.
also from the same set, the same photo session. This is another Record Expo pickup.
I love the continuation of the album theme on that.
Yeah. So this is they're getting ready to do whatever they're going to do, and yeah, no, there's nothing on the single the sleeve itself. But so there you go. So I guess over to Jex.
Yes, I have one more. My last one. Tim was actually here when I bought this one. This is the Record Expo a couple of years ago. But what's funny, I didn't realize that at the time, but I bought 3 Hipgnosis albums once. I got Sticks, Pieces of 8, 10cc Bloody Tourists, and then this one I'm going to show, which again, Rainbow.
Oh, yeah.
Straight between the eyes, which I didn't know this was Hipgnosis because it's more animated, right? It's very cartoony. You have the guitar coming out from between the eyes. This is more of a Hipgnosis kind of feel here. The back cover with
This reminds me of Queen, The Miracle.
Yep.
No, big time. Yeah, big time.
My only regret about this is actually my favorite Rainbow album.
It's
I
so
wish
good.
they'd used the actual Rainbow logo.
Yeah,
I was
that's
gonna say the
disappointing,
same.
yeah.
I know they were trying to differentiate because they had Joel and Turner, and it wasn't the Dio era anymore, but it
That's
just
so-
looked more classic to me.
Yeah,
It's
agreed.
such a plain, excuse the term, boring font, right?
Look at there's a rainbow in the iris there.
holy. I never,
Yeah, the things you find.
Yeah,
I never even noticed the rainbow.
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, there you go.
There's nothing hidden. It's just a picture of the band, but there are eyes on the inner sleeve.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And the record. Oh, the record itself actually has some customization.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah,
There's some production
yeah.
value.
Great album. I love that album.
Very good. I like it too.
Yeah.
Safe to say, Jex, you didn't catch the rainbow.
I never even noticed. Oh.
See what you did there.
Check it out. Rainbow eyes.
All right, I got
okay, Chris.
2 left. And this is the final one.
I've got 2 left. I wonder if they're the same 2.
Yeah, our final Bad Company album. This is I got this for $4 and it's in great shape. It was not an
really
album
hard
for them
to keep these from bending.
But I love this design with the die cut front, right? You slide that out, the inner sleeve, which is all Vegas themed, rough diamonds. And I love gone are the days like this is a proper real thick cardboard inner sleeve.
Yeah, those last. Those kind of things last.
Yeah, they are awesome. But this is a great album design. This is a promo copy stamped up at the top there that you can see. This is still the prop. I wonder if they want it back. We Have Music might want this back.
Yeah. It's like, well, how did I end up paying for this?
But the album didn't do very well. And I always loved with the Bad Company. I always love. Whoop, there we go. I always loved the Swan Song
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
logo.
I got to say, I don't like this album very much.
No, it's not very good. It's not very
Other than
good.
Electric Land, which is only okay. You could tell it was the end of the road for that lineup.
Exactly. Yeah, not a great record, but a very cool
Yeah,
record sleeve
yeah.
design.
I don't
Absolutely.
I don't think we touched on the fact that Hipgnosis did design the Swan Song label. That
Oh, did they?
yeah,
Oh, okay. I guess that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense. It's a great logo and label.
Yeah, very striking. Okay, so my last one, I'm guessing is Chris's last one, but maybe not.
Probably. It's one of their last.
1983.
Oh no.
No,
Yeah,
okay.
different
Rainbow,
one.
Bent Out of Shape, the last one with Joel and Turner. And this is very like, she's bending the doors. Like there's a really strange perspective to it. And the back cover is just kind of like a continuation of it. This is actually Radio Canada.
Oh,
I got this in Spin It, but
Oh,
obviously we know where it came from.
yeah, I have a few of those.
And the inner sleeve is it's got photos of the band. Not the easiest things to see. And what does the record itself have on it? Okay, not really Hipgnosis look, but it does have some customization.
Nice.
The one last thing I got to show goes with this. I got this at the Record Expo. This is the 45 for Street of Dreams.
oh, nice.
And this would have made a perfectly good record cover unto itself.
Yeah, it's a
But
beautiful.
they went through the trouble to design a whole new sleeve for this single. This is a US single.
That's crazy.
And I guess it's okay. The difference between, so you've got that. And if you look close, there's images of people here on the back. If there's someone there.
Oh, yeah.
So nothing different about the record, it's just the Mercury logo. And that's it. That's all I got. So I'm curious what.
I got one left.
Yeah.
By a band that we've talked about already that did a lot of work with Hipgnosis.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have that one.
Ammonia Avenue. I love $8.99.
It blends in. I didn't even notice it.
Right. So this is 1984. This album came out. One of their great songs, "Don't Answer Me," with a great big hit from this.
I remember that video because it was animated.
Animated,
it was like a comic book, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this was inspired by Eric Wolfson visiting what was it called? The Imperial Chemical Industries factory in England. And he actually saw there was a street with miles of pipe, no people, no trees, and a sign that said Ammonia Avenue. And that's where the concept came from. And overriding this album, there's the great back shot of the scientists with their head buried in the dirt. But the overriding theme of this album was kind of an environmental, Alan Parsons concerned about, technology and how we were potentially destroying the environment, all the rest of it. That's the inner sleeve there. So it's all kind of designed around that, industrial. There's the factory, right, at the back behind the scientists there in the image. So kind of an overriding concept of industrialism and, destroying the environment, and ammonia obviously being a chemical, all the rest of it.
Wonder how he feels 40 years later.
Right?
Yeah. Fun fact. When I was a kid, I used to get the words ammonia and pneumonia mixed up.
Oh.
Yep, you would.
Honest mistake.
Yeah. And that's fun. So that's an example of a cover that was designed but not released until after they had ceased, business.
Exactly. I got to point out one thing, guys, before we finish, that I think I talked to you a bit about this, Tim. I had no idea that in reading the book, this cover, can anybody guess?
Oh, yeah, this is the one. Yeah.
This was a rejected cover for a massive album by a massive band in the early 80s. Yeah, this was the original cover.
Yeah, it was to be called Silent Partners.
You are correct.
It was this band's fourth album.
Yep.
It was rejected again for the same reason that, the Going for the Wand, like the naked dude on it.
Too gay.
Too gay. Yeah.
Hard as it is to me. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So what did they go with?
Number 4.
And Foreigner are notorious for having terrible album covers.
Yeah.
You know something? I just thought about this, and I think we may have committed a faux pas.
Uh-oh.
Give me 2 seconds here. Hold on a second, guys.
A faux pas.
I think this is one that we may have missed. Now that we're talking about it. Nope. Okay. All right. For a second, I was like, did Hipgnosis do head games? Because it kind of looks like they did.
No, they did not.
But they didn't. But it kind of looks like it.
Well,
that's one where I might have guessed wrong if somebody says this is a Hipgnosis cover, and I'd be like, yeah, it looks like one.
Could have been.
Because
that was controversial too.
Yeah, well, the colors and everything on it is reminiscent of that UFO that Chris showed. Force it, right? It's bathroom. Well, it's like a bathroom setting, you know.
Yeah. And who's to say it wasn't inspired by it? We want something that looks something like that,
right? Well, when you think about how many different album covers were obviously inspired by Hipgnosis that other graphic design companies used, I mean, right? They did so much prolific work. It's got to be an inspiration.
You know, one thing I find interesting is that Rainbow did 3 albums with Hipgnosis, but it's strange to me that Deep Purple didn't, or Whitesnake, or Gillan, like any of the other Deep Purple offshoots.
Yep.
I guess Deep Purple would have been defunct for most of the Hipgnosis run. I mean, from like 76 through 84, but
I think they did do something for Deep Purple. It may not have been one of their studio albums. Been a DVD or.
I think I know what you mean, and it's one we talked about that was post Hipgnosis. I think it's their live album, Nobody's Perfect.
Yes,
from '88, and that's one that I think we got another episode where we can talk about stuff that just Storm Thorgerson did on his own, because we've all mentioned a few of them, and they still look very Hipgnosis. So
absolutely.
So guys, this was great. I love the variety we've had
of
all those different album covers, and we haven't even scratched the surface. These are just ones we own, right? So Hipgnosis, you know, completely standing alone in terms of album, and unfortunately it's an era that doesn't exist anymore, to have, you know, an industry that was so invested in what an album looked like that there was a company was able to sustain themselves just designing album covers and being able to travel the world and going to all these places to get just the right shot.
They made a lot of money. They made a lot of money.
And you know, honestly, if they did nothing else but Dark Side of the Moon, their reputation would be, you know, complete. But so there you go. Bug, Jex, Chris, thank you all for doing this. Check out Chris, My Rock and Roll Heaven. He's on all the socials. Jex on the Distortion Den, on Grab a Stack of Rock, oftentimes on this channel, as is Bug Campbell. And thanks guys for doing this. And you know, folks, what are your favorite Hipgnosis album covers? Yeah. Are there album covers that you thought were Hipgnosis that weren't, or you know, or vice versa, that aren't that you didn't know were Hipgnosis album covers? Some of these I didn't know until I looked them up. So
absolutely.
Thanks everybody for watching this edition of Tim's Vinyl Confessions. And what did I just do? Hey, what did I just do? I did something, guys. I did something. Guys, I did something. I don't know what I did.
We're not recording?
I don't know.
It says it's being recorded. Oh, wait. Oh.
It says recording still.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what I just did. I'm seeing all different pictures. All right, guys. Woo!
Again.
We'll see you later. Tim's Vinyl Confessions. Goodbye.